Roger, wow. You agree we need to go after them. They need to be punished. They need to go to jail. Not out of vindictiveness. Justice must be served. Plus, this is Day of the Dead. These zombies are going to keep coming back at us until their brains have been removed.
Well, first let me address something Bev said, because I think it's crucially important, because we've seen this before. If you read Hamilton Jordan's biography, there's a whole section on how Jimmy Carter wanted to run against Ronald Reagan, thought he was a simpleton.
Oh, you said this a few months ago.
Thought that he was imminently beatable. We saw the same thing here, where if you look at the returns in Detroit, in Milwaukee, in Pittsburgh, for example.
Replay of Reagan.
No other Republican could have won this. Had we nominated a conventional establishment Republican, you would have gotten the traditional Republican vote in those places, and we would have lost. Only Trump could have won this. So, again, Bev's right. Be careful what you wish for.
Why are they so incompetent? I knew Trump was the strongest from the beginning.
Because they're elitists. They don't understand working people. They don't understand how average people think, and they don't understand their values, and they never understood Trump's appeal to working people. He speaks the language.
We want to go eat a hamburger and drink a beer. They want to go devil worship and drink blood. They're just disconnected.
Exactly. Now, the other thing, to go to your point, is Trump is a man who means what he says and says what he means. You watch the debates, you can run them back down and rewatch them. He's going to seek justice for those who have broken the law. Now, he doesn't think that he unilaterally can wave a wand and say Hillary should be sent to jail. There's a process, but they have avoided the process for 40 years. And now it is time for it all to catch up with them. They need to be put through the judicial process. The Clinton Foundation is not a charity.
It's money laundering.
It's a slush fund for grifters.
But don't we have the total proof with the WikiLeaks from 3 weeks ago where we got to cover this up? There's like 15 of them that I saw. We got to cover it up for POTUS. He's in secret communication with this illegal thing. But this is like, God, we're all screwed. Drawn quarter, whoever did this. This is totally illegal. We have them running around admitting they're committing crime. So dumb on emails, then admitting they want to cover it up. I mean, it's open and shut.
We've always had the evidence. What we haven't had is an honest prosecutor who will take it to a grand jury so that justice can be done. Now I think you will finally have that. We now go into what I think is a crucial period, because personnel is policy, and the president-elect needs to choose people who reflect his worldview, who reflect his mindset.
Yeah, no more old guard. He needs to get patriots, new people, folks from the outside. He needs to get business people, doctors. He needs to get a wide spectrum.
And he needs to avoid globalists. He needs to avoid neocons. He needs to avoid those who are tied to the mistakes of the past. He needs a fresh team of
Tell
people.
folks how pathetic the mainstream media is. Famous people, because it's on your phone, are calling Democrats who've been attacking. Now they suddenly are kissing your ass, asking for jobs.
The job seekers now come out of the woodwork. First, there's the Republican job seekers, those who were never for Trump. They're the ones calling to say, I was with you the whole time. Can you send my resume? Can you send my resume? Then you've got the reporters who wouldn't give you the time of day, who misrepresented what you said, who attacked you. Now they want to know if they can get an interview with Donald Trump. This is the way the world works. This is why I left Washington when I did. Washington is the phoniest place on the planet. If you want to meet real people, you got a better chance in Hollywood.
Well, exactly. And I want to just say this. What am I asking for from Trump? Just be true, restore the republic, cut taxes, cut the debt, unify the nation. We talked this weekend, and I said I thought Trump was going to win. I mean, I knew they were going to try to steal it, and I had a bad feeling. And Bev Harris was on. She's a liberal, but she said clearly they tried to steal it. But the tsunami was so big that it defeated them. So I think now, asking you, what do we do next? I want your view. I mean, clearly, do you think we should just let Hillary sail off into the sunset?
Clearly not. First of all, I want to congratulate you, Alex, and Roger for really initiating this American Revolution. It was not easy. It's an important idea that people have to understand, that this was initiated by what we call the alternative media. Roger and I had worked under Reagan. We had worked under other presidents, Nixon. But this is really a revolution, and this was a revolution that people should understand, initiated through your auspices, plus Roger interceding, my coming in, but it also belongs to the men and women who are in our intelligence service, our military intelligence, our civilian intelligence. Had they not performed, we would not have been at this position. And I can't tell you how important they have been to the integrity of the republic. It's not just the men and women who carry guns and fight our wars, the kinetic wars. This is a new kind of war. And let me tell you, in 1973, I was fortunate enough under the GI Bill to not only attend Harvard, but MIT. Not because I was so smart, but because I understood that at MIT they were going to teach me something that had never been taught before, and that was the internet and social media. 1973.
My dad was at UT in the 60s, and they were talking about CD-ROM and social media then as well in the Plan 2 program when he was in high school. And, of course, you know that was a secret DARPA program.
That's exactly it. So we have to thank DARPA, Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, and even the CIA for having initiated this type of modality that nobody could conceive. 50 years later, we have been able to utilize it using you, Roger, many others, and the internet to literally have a coup, which the Clintons did and attempted it, and there was a counter coup. There's no question about it. Without soldiers, without tanks, as Roger said, you know, the old line Republicans were useless. We were able to kick them out. And in turn, what happened was the Republic answered in a way that we'd never seen before. The voices that came through you, through the protests, through the meetings that they went to with Donald Trump, and the fact that Donald could articulate our discontent and maintain it at a phenomenal rate that even I was stunned. I got to tell you, as a doctor, psychiatrist, I've never seen anybody like Donald Trump. He was tireless. I mean, I had to go to bed at midnight, 1 in the morning, because I figured, oh, you know, this will keep on going. But truthfully, we owe a great debt of gratitude to the family, the Trump family, to all the people around him.
They're warriors. They're warriors. And Roger Stone here with us, former Trump campaign head. He's got...
Well, Roger's an old-line warrior. I mean, he and I worked for Nixon. I had a great, great respect for Nixon. And as I said to a friend of mine who's now meeting with Rumsfeld, I said, the spirit of Nixon, and I came in later on. Roger was far more involved with Nixon than I did. I really came in towards the end and then the Ford administration. But Nixon communicated with me, and that man was a genius. I mean, people really only understand Watergate, but they don't understand how brilliant he was. And he was a poor man. He grew up as a Quaker. He watched his brother get killed. He grew up with all kinds of problems that he was able to overcome.
Reportedly, Stone was like best friends with Nixon after he got out of office. That's what the New York Times says.
I admire him, and I understand that.
He never lined his pockets. He never used his position in government to enrich himself. They tried to say that in Watergate. It was false. He was, above all, a patriot. He was for a strong America. He was for peace. And he paid the ultimate price for it. But and he made mistakes. There's no question. Closing the gold window, enormous mistake. The war on drugs, enormous.
But he wasn't a demon. You had a question for Pieczenik.
He was a patriot.
Roger's correct.
He was a patriot.
Did that. And ironically, the liberals come up to me and say, oh, my God, I didn't know that Nixon had created the Environmental Protection Agency. I didn't know Nixon had initiated NIDA, National Institute for Drug Abuse. I said, yeah. It doesn't mean we're all right-wing
neocons.
See, one thing interests me, and that was the byplay of last Friday and Monday. Like you, I have very good sources in the New York Police Department. They assured me that the treasure trove of 650,000 documents that were found on the Huma Abedin Anthony Weiner server were political and legal dynamite. I mean, just evidence of treason, evidence of corruption, evidence of crime.
Sex compromising.
Evidence of pay for play, evidence of sexual blackmail, and so on. So how is it that the FBI director, who took months to go through 33,000 emails, could say, oh, we've been through all this and there's nothing there?
Well, that's my next question for both of you. I was told by sources
and why did no one...
that they told Hillary, you better not try to steal it, because we're going to bring all this out.
Roger has a key point, but I will answer. Roger understands this because we've been in several administrations. Fear and collusion are one of the greatest dynamics that you have in politics. And the Clintons were able to collude with Loretta Lynch and James Comey. The reason why, Roger, he had to come out is because thanks to our military people, our people in the intelligence community, who were sick and tired of his acquiescence, of Comey's acquiescence, they allowed a lot of the emails to go literally right through WikiLeaks, and we have to give a kudo to Julian Assange, who really
Who is the MVP? I mean, is Julian Assange even more key? I mean, Trump's the MVP.
He is very
Drudge is an
key to this
MVP. How do you...
I mean, if I were Trump, I would give him a pardon and ask him to come to the United States and give him American citizenship.
Isn't it time to bring Snowden back?
That's a different issue. No.
Agreed. That's a different issue. But I agree with you on Assange. I would offer him a pardon. Look, they threatened to kill this guy. They threatened to drone him. They put pressure on the British government to actually withdraw the diplomatic recognition of Ecuador so they could rush the embassy and arrest him because he was the man with the secret.
All right, guys, stay there. We're going to come back. I want to ask you guys quick questions, quick answers. How do they strike back, this nest of globalists, George Soros and others? Because I know we're all celebrating here, but, I mean, we just won a big battle, but we're still, got more attack ships coming. And so I want to win. I want to win it all. Obviously, Julian Assange, Brexit, and Nigel Farage, and that breaking away. It's like planets aligning. The stuff Roger Stone did behind the scenes is epic. The intelligence community, the patriots. But I got to say, Julian Assange, I think hands down, Julian Assange, just the WikiLeaks, and that ties into the intelligence community and patriots, and whistleblowing. I think whistleblowers are the MVPs. And so when I say Assange, he's the archetype of that. But really, it is those whistleblowers are the MVPs, giving us a window into these nasty globalist activities, bringing salt to the earth, absolutely bringing the truth out. Dr. Steve Pieczenik, do you think that's an accurate statement? The MVPs in this revolution against tyranny are the whistleblowers.
Well, let me be frank. I think all of you are the MVPs. Julian is part and parcel of a revolution that started way before Julian even knew this revolution was there. And quite frankly, it's you and others who sat there in the alternative media, which was called the alternative media, which will now become the mainstream media because the mainstream media is finished. What happened in this revolution are several things. Number one, the mainstream media is finished. The Clinton Foundation will be disbanded.
And by the way, I got to stop you. We're not just saying this. We now have to really up our game. They're gone. This is really happening.
It's happening, but nobody's gone until they're gone. And remember, even in the French Revolution, it got out of control. And one of the reasons that I have to be very careful about what we say and do is that we need to put in place what Reagan had in place and what Nixon had in place, a very effective team of very bright individuals who are not just loyalists, but who can implement. Now, Trump has a very effective team.
That's right. Let's talk about, everybody wants to celebrate. Okay, let's celebrate by winning. Roger, real quick, and then you ride shotgun with us.
Go ahead, Roger.
Just real fast, in 60 seconds each. What does Trump do next, exactly, to make sure they don't undermine him? I think you should stop all this dangerous public events for a while. We need to get in first, because I think they're going to try to kill him.
I have a concern about his personal security. I pray for his safety, as does my family. But above all, he needs to be careful to choose people who reflect his views. This is the section, Steve, you've seen this, where they come out of the woodwork. The job seekers, the courtiers, the brown nosers, the bootlickers, and they explain to you how helpful they were to you when, in fact, they did nothing to help you get elected.
And that's how you're going to get infiltrated. It's not just
Roger
they suck.
Is absolutely correct. And he mentioned the one particular group, the neoconservatives, the ones who came out like Steve Hadley, Richard Pearl, Wolfowitz, Sandy Berger, Fukuyama, a whole group of them who were exceedingly dangerous under Bush Jr., who came out and said, we want to make America number one.
Yeah, they're the folks working with the Islamists that blew up the towers.
Yeah, now they are very dangerous. They cannot be in this administration. And that's kind of a warning to everyone that there will be no neocons involved, including ancillary individuals, particularly in the Defense Department and the National Security area. It cannot happen. And Roger understands this, and I understand it. This revolution really came out as a revolution against the neocons and what happened in 9/11.
Let me ask you this.
I do want to go to the MVP question because it's an important one. And there's somebody who isn't on our list so far. Because I agree with you, Alex, that Drudge, a crucial player here in what happened. Breitbart.
Bannon.
But Steve Bannon, more than anyone else, who had an acute understanding of the new media, something the campaign lacked until he joined. I've missed communications with him this morning, but I think he should be the chief of staff. When I reach him, I'm going to urge him to seek that job. I think he has the big picture viewpoint that Trump needs. He knows exactly who the bad guys are. He knows exactly who those who really helped win this victory are. He understands the value.
He should run the hen house.
And he understands the value of Infowars.com and the fact that Alex has been the tip of the spear, that Alex has been Resistance Central. He is deeply appreciative of everything that's happened here. He is the right man to be the gatekeeper because the gatekeeper, as Steve knows, is crucial. Who gets in to see the president, whose paper gets on the president's desk is now
And that's why
crucial.
they're crapping their drawers. We'll come back with Pieczenik, give him the floor, and then let him go. That's why they're crapping their drawers, because Steve Bannon is a patriot. He knows cutting taxes will help people. He knows he's an American. I mean, that's all we want is just somebody. And so they're crapping their pants. We'll see what Pieczenik thinks is most important straight ahead and what the next chapter of this is, because I know everybody wants to celebrate, and that's great. But, you know, if you're celebrating this win, we're going to lose the next war. Everybody can celebrate. That's wonderful. But I love this so much, we have to win the next 10 battles. And it gets easier as we tap into the 1776 power. This is a really last chance, I think. Trump has to deliver. I want to ask Dr. Pieczenik this, then you, Roger. And then we're going to get Larry Nichols on. Trump has to deliver. But what is delivering? And then what else does he do to surround himself, you're absolutely right, with the generals, not the PR BSers and not the folks that want to be on red carpets and fly around with a bunch of jackasses, you know, and rock stars. We need real men and women that are dedicated to the return of America. Dr. Pieczenik?
What he needs to do is to first appoint those people who can clean out the system. In particular, you have to go into the FBI again. You have to go into the Justice Department. If Giuliani comes in, I remember him under the Reagan administration. He did a formidable job against all the banking elites, Drexel, Burnham, and others. If he comes in, then the IRS has to be reevaluated and reconfigured. And then if the sheriff comes in to do Homeland Security, that would be important to clean it out and reconstitute it. So you're going to have to decrease the size of our government. You have to have people, what I used to do and still do is a sweeper. You come in and you clean out every institution and not give that individual a particular job. He comes in, he sweeps it out, and basically reconstitutes it very quickly. I did that under the Reagan administration. I did that under other administrations. But you need that kind of fixer or sweeper that Roger knows about. And we go in there and we tighten it from the White House. Nixon had a very effective team in the White House, so that when they came in and they overran the bureaucracy, he knew exactly what was happening.
And is that why the elite hated Nixon?
No, I think Steve has put his finger on it. Immediately after the 1972 election, Nixon went to Camp David, took his top aides with him, and they just hunkered down for a week and wrote a plan to completely clean out the federal bureaucracy, top to bottom. CIA, FBI, Justice Department, particularly all the social agencies. This is what scared the Washington establishment. This is a major factor in the takedown of Nixon. He threatened the bureaucracy like
he was actually acting like a president.
Never before. He didn't feel he had the mandate to do it in the first term, where he had been very narrowly elected with less than 50% of the vote. After the great sweep of 72, he was ready to make his move. I know. I went to the Office of Economic Opportunity to help close down the legal services operation, which had really become a lobbying operation against the Nixon administration.
We're almost out of time, and you're riding shotgun, and we'll have Dr. Pieczenik back, obviously, very, very soon if he wants to join us. Pieczenik.com. We've been asking a lot of the questions here. What's the big takeaway from this? What's the next threat, Dr. Pieczenik, and any other points?
The next threat is really, what do we do next? It's what Roger said. Roger and I should go back into the administration and do what we've done in past administrations, which is to sit down, figure out who needs what, who's got to do what institutions have to be taken down or downsized, and it has to be systematic. It's very much the Trump system. He has to evaluate, he has to decide, and then he has to implement. It's like building a building. You have to know what you really need, who you really need, and who can implement it. And it has to be done very quickly so that there's no backlash. Victory is not declared until you really have a republic that's functioning along the lines.
That's right. Until it happens, it's just fantasy. So here's my question. Look, if I'm the Clintons or I'm Obama, these are nasty, entitled, delusional people. It's what makes them so dangerous is they're lazy, they vacation constantly now. Hillary didn't used to be, but the point is they're bad news. They're pissed. They are steaming mad. Soros is running around. He's emboldened by all the crimes he's committed, getting away with them. I mean, how does the bleeding and wounded gremlin of the New World Order, neocons, globalists, how do they strike back at Trump? I mean, because...
This is like the march on the Soviet Union. When I helped take it down, there was no rebound. The rebound came 20, 30 years later under Putin, but we wanted a strong leader. What we have to worry about is not the rebound that's going to come back from these wounded individuals. They've been humiliated. It's not just that they've been knocked out. They've been totally humiliated. And as Roger points out, there's really a strong criminal element to it, which Giuliani can handle. The real issue now is to look upwards. Who is Trump going to appoint? Who are the people that are going to do the cleaning? Who are the people who are going to run the republic? And how much more are we going to decrease the entire bureaucracy so that it functions in an effective way? That's the key element for us right now. They can come back any way they want, but they're scattered, they're fearful, they're bleeding. You don't gloat at this point. What you do is reconsolidate, you reconstitute, and then move on to the system and start to take it apart.
But, I mean, isn't it more dangerous to leave the Clintons with all their blackmail data and everything in place?
I'll leave it up to Giuliani. He was a great prosecutor under Reagan. I used to say to Drexel Burnham, you have Mike Milken for $600 million on the cover of Time magazine, but I got a young man who's making $60,000 named Giuliani. And then Drexel, the head of Drexel said to me, oh, no, we've got great lawyers. I said, you're not going to be around. And I said, the $60,000 lawyer, Giuliani, is going to take down your $600 million Milken. And he did it. I'm not worried about that. The criminal prosecution will go along the lines of what Giuliani needs to do and Trump wants to do. What really has to be done, 90% of this is not about vindictiveness. Roger knows that. I know that. Even Nixon wasn't as vindictive as people claimed. He instead implemented the foreign policy.
Well, here's the deal. I'm not going to leave a bunch of traitors that have sold us out 7 ways to Sunday that are my personal enemy in place. I can't sleep at night. I would be a moron, and Trump would be an idiot if we don't go for the jugular.
No. It's not a question. Yeah, what I'm saying is you put them in prison. You put in place all the necessary legal consequences of their behavior. That's not the key issue now. Is to move on.
No, I agree. Throw their ass in prison when they get a jury trial and move on. All right, we'll talk soon.
I think there should be, up to Giuliani. He knows prosecution. He understands what it means to prosecute. He knows what
well, I'll say this. I've had issues with Giuliani, but he has called her a crook. He has said she has to be.
I'm not worried about it because he has already stated publicly what he would do. Trump has stated publicly what he is going to do. What we need to do is to make sure that the Department of Defense has a salient capability to do what it needs to do, that our intelligence community is effective. Do we really need 16 units in the intelligence unit? I don't think so.